Right, so we're carrying on with the carbon and nitrogen cycles. So there's the CO2 in the atmosphere. This bit here, when the plants absorb it, is called photosynthesis. Right, let me write that again. Photosynthesis. So you get CO2 from the atmosphere, ends up in the plants. When they die and get squashed and don't decompose, they become fossil fuels. So it's talking about plants, not animals. So it's not talking about oil, peat, and coal. Right. They can also then start, when they die, they can then decompose. The two decomposers that we're interested in are bacteria and fungi. That's what we want. Organic compounds in animals. So, I suppose you could call that respiration. No, I'm lying to you. No, we don't want to call that. This is, we'll come back to combustion, organic compounds. That's death, really. Organic compounds. Okay, they respire aerobically. So respiration. Animals also respire respiration. Green, right? This is you can call it feeding, and let's write this word here: assimilation. Remember we said, so if I eat, just say this bar of chocolate, it's inside my stomach, but it's not part of me yet. When it goes into the bloodstream and becomes part of a cell, then it has become assimilated into my body. It's become part of me. So feeding and assimilation. Right, name the process labeled A. A is called photosynthesis. Give the letters of the process that add CO2 into the atmosphere. There's actually B and E. Okay. B and E. So what happens with B, you take oxygen, you respire, you carry out the process in the cell. Because that takes up oxygen, it ends up producing carbon dioxide, and then that's released here. When you burn wood, when you burn coal, when you burn peat, you end up with CO2, and that goes into the atmosphere. Right. They're saying many people are concerned that too much CO2 is being released into the atmosphere. Suggest 2 actions. Right. The simple way to answer this is to use less what they call fossil fuels. You can use more renewable. So for example, solar, wind, you can use more nuclear, right? So you could plant more trees to reduce the amount of CO2. You can use more public transport. Yeah, okay. That's more than enough. You've got 4 there. It's only a 2 marker. Right, what's going to happen? So this is a standard answer. So CO2 is a greenhouse gas. So leads to global warming. That's your standard line. When you get a rise in temperatures, this will lead to melting ice caps. So this is what they're looking for. What happens when you got melting ice caps? The sea levels rise, and destroying habitats and forcing animals and people, forcing migration of people and animals. Okay. Also changes in climate will cause droughts or floods, etc. You could also end up with extinction. This may also lead to the extinction where they stop existing. Extinction of animals and plants. Right, done. Right, you've got a nitrogen cycle. They want us to name these parts. So G, where is G? G is assimilation. So the plant absorbs the nitrates from the soil and they become part of the molecules and the atoms inside the plant. That is called assimilation. Decomposition, where things break down. So you've got waste from the animals and waste from the plants when they die, although it's not clear. Right, they're broken down here by decomposers. So the process is called decomposition. So they're after the process. Yeah. What did we say the 2 decomposers are? Bacteria and fungi. So you need to know those 2. Right, denitrification. This is what they call bad bacteria, which turns nitrates back into what do you call it? Back into nitrogen gas. Right here. So you've got, it turns these nitrates back into nitrogen gas in the soil and in the atmosphere. So it's I. Excretion is cell waste. So the only thing that we can see here is here D. Right, it's not, remember, urea is urine, which is cell waste, right? Feces or poo is undigested food. They're slightly different. Yeah, we normally group them together, but in biology terms, no. Right, nitrification. Nitrification, where are we? Okay, so from ammonia, ammonium turns into nitrites, and then nitrites are turned into nitrates. This is by nitrifying bacteria. So this process is called nitrification. So F and H. And nitrogen fixing, it happens in the nodules. And this process here is also, these two processes are nitrogen fixing, and it happens in the soil, A and B. Right, let's move on. Assimilation of, remember what we said, assimilate. So when I eat this bar of chocolate, it goes into me, it's in my stomach, but it's not assimilated. Once it goes into the blood and becomes part of a working cell, whether it's repair or growth, then it has become assimilated. So assimilation of nitrates by plants involves something called active transport. So active transport is a type of diffusion, but it requires energy because it goes against the concentration gradient. Because normally, just say this is a tube. Let's do it this way. This is the soil. You've got lots of nitrate, but the plant has got lots of nitrate. So really, if things need to flow, they need to flow that way. But the plant needs this. So it needs to pull them in. And it's going against the concentration gradient. The concentration gradient is that way. So things should flow that way. But the plant needs those, so we need to flow, we need things to flow uphill against the concentration gradient. So it's the movement of molecules or particles, or whatever you want to call it, particles from an area of a low, so from an area of low concentration, turn that to T, that's terrible, tration, to an area of high concentration. And this process requires energy. This process needs respiration for energy. Okay. Why do farmers need to add soil, fertilizer to soil? Right, the first and most obvious, okay. The first and most obvious thing we need to write is to increase the amount of crop or crops, right? Another way of saying that, to increase the yield. So remember, yield is if I plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I plant 10 seeds and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right, 7 grow, I've got 7 out of 10 seeds. I've got a 70% yield. Okay, so that's what they mean by that. To increase the yield, right? Because fertilizers contain, what do they contain? Nitrates for amino acids. Amino acids which can be used for nucleus, for what do you call it? Let's use the word making, nucleuses or nuclei. That would be nuclei, would be a better word, yeah. And magnesium, which the plant uses, which is used to make chlorophyll, which is in the chloroplast for photosynthesis. So that helps the plant grow by making its own food. You can also say, so that's yield. Then you've got nitrates and magnesium, what it's used for. Now we're going to write about also crops grown in the previous years. Use the word deplete. Nope, if I can spell that. Deplete. Crops grown in the previous years deplete nutrients or ions. Let's put nutrients in the soil, so need replacing. Also fertilizers like manure, that's horse and cow poo, like manure, help improve or make better the soil structure. Basically what that means is it stops things being blown away or washed away because it's got fiber in there, like it's like fibrous with improve the soil structure and helps maintain water, and water plants need to grow. Okay, right, I think that's it. We are done with that. So that's another one done. Good.